How far will this man go to torment himself? To intimidate his opponent, he actually picked up a gun, pointed it at his own cheek, and pulled the trigger. Yet, what surprised Baki even more was that Spike not only remained completely unharmed, but also used steam to instantly seal the wound. Just moments earlier, Baki was suddenly cornered by a few thugs. They pulled out ridiculously long swords from their pants, ready to teach Baki a lesson. But as one thug swung his blade at Baki, a single blare from Baki froze him on the spot. In his mind, the thug vividly saw his own face being smashed to pulp. Another clueless thug behind him hurled his weapon, a Morningstar, at Baki. But to Baki, such a thing was nothing more than a toy. Enraged by the mockery, the thug swung his Morningstar wildly, yet failed to even graze a single hair on Baki's head. Then, with a sudden burst of movement, Baki closed the distance between them in an instant. Against weaklings like this, Baki didn't even need to throw a punch to defeat them effortlessly. After dealing with them, Baki turned his attention to the gang's leader behind him. Panicking, the leader quickly aimed his gun at Baki. But suddenly, Baki froze, because behind the leader stood a towering, 2.5-meter tall behemoth. Faced with this terrifying presence, the leader was powerless to resist and handed over the gun. Spike then pointed the barrel against his own cheek and pulled the trigger. The scene made the leader piss himself in terror on the spot. Next, Spike amiably extended his hand to Baki. Without hesitation, Baki reached out and shook it. But the next moment, Spike's hand detached and fell off. Seeing the horror on Baki's face, Spike burst into maniacal laughter, explaining that this was the hand of his beloved. How could he just toss it casually on the ground? Hearing this, Baki fell into deep dread. Seizing the opportunity, Spike landed a vicious kick straight into Baki's stomach. Just then, the police finally arrived and arrested Spike. An investigation revealed that the severed hand belonged to a patrol officer from earlier. It was only then that Baki realized that hand wasn't from one of his own loved ones. Meanwhile, Chief Denyama was urgently convening a meeting. Considering that this criminal was unlike any they'd faced before, they decided to assign 5 times the usual number of officers to escort Spike back to prison. After the briefing, the chief went to the restroom to relieve himself. But suddenly, he sensed something wrong. The guy next to him was peeing with more force than a high-pressure water gun. He looked up and saw it was Spike. The chief was baffled. Spike was supposed to be locked in a cell, so how was he here? Spike simply smiled faintly, and kindly handed the chief a warm bag of steamed buns. Instead of appreciating the gesture, the chief launched an attack at Spike. In response, Spike, with his unwashed hands, forcefully shoved the buns into the chief's mouth. Prison alarms blared instantly. 2 guards were left in shock staring at the giant hole blown through the cell wall. As they tried to contact headquarters, a pair of large hands landed on their shoulders. Turns out, Spike never intended to escape. To him, this place was even cozier than home. Meanwhile, in a Tokyo hotel, a fearsome man was silently observing everything. After learning that 5 death row inmates had arrived in Tokyo, the man tossed his cigarette into the air, followed by a 360-degree spinning kick that extinguished the cigarette with his heel. In his eyes, the most vicious death row inmates were no different from trash, and this fiercely formidable man was none other than Baki's father, known as the strongest creature on earth, Yujiro Hanma.